Welcome to the North American Game Bird Association presentation that we are calling the Game Bird Spotlight. And I have a guest tonight, Rob Sexton, the Executive Director of the North American Game Bird Association. I am Peg Ballou, the President of the North American Game Bird Association. Tonight we're covering two topics. The first one is the latest issue facing our industry, which is avian influenza. So, Rob, can you tell what is AI and why is it a problem for us?
Well, avian influenza, communicable disease that impacts birds and poultry. Uh, there are very stringent regulations by the government to control the spread of this disease. And, if you're a chicken or a turkey or a, game bird facility that winds up testing positive for this, it's a really catastrophic issue. And so NAGA has spent the last 7 or 8 years trying to prepare people to deal with it, to prevent it, to know how to recognize it, all the things that you need to do to get prepared, obviously. Uh, we did all this preparation back in 2014, 15, and 16 in the hopes that we'd never have to put these things into practice. But here we are, 2022, needing to put these things in place.
So, isn't avian influenza just a game bird farm problem?
Well, back in 14 and 15, there was a lot of talk that this did not affect hunting preserves. It only affected the game bird farms, but we've already seen this year it does impact hunting preserves. I think we had a facility up in New York State that tested positive, and so they're shut down. While their birds are depopulated, which of course is the euphemistic way of saying, to kill all your birds and dispose of them, and then you're going to be shut down while all of that's disposed of and disinfected. And the bottom line is most people estimate businesses are down and out for up to 6 months while all that's done. I guess for a hunting preserve, for this to happen in March, it could be worse, right? Because you need to be ready for the fall. But for a producer, that 6 month time period would be
It's
just
catastrophic.
Awful.
It's
Yes.
it could be a business-ending event.
Yes.
Well, also, I think that the hunting clubs need to realize that it is their problem because if their supplier gets it, it could be the end of their supply of birds for that year. It could
That's
affect
right.
them. It could be a problem. So, what do we do about it? The main thing I know is don't let it get into your barns or your pens. But
Right.
how do we do that?
Well, I think you have to start with just good practices, right? So good practices of hygiene that nobody took seriously back before 2014. So let's stay with the hunting preserves for just a moment. Who gets to get into your trucks to unload them or onto your trailers to unload them? What kinds of hygiene practices do they, utilize before they do that? Those things really matter because, if you make 2 deliveries in one trip, you're taking something from the first hunting preserve to the second one. And then from there, you're taking it back to your own farm. So it's really important to install protocols, procedures that, maybe a lot of people were eye rolling about 5, 6 years ago. Oh, sure, we'll wash the truck. But but the bottom line is,
Yeah.
if
What?
you're,
Wash the tires?
yeah,
Why do I gotta wash tires on my truck?
yep, and if you don't do it, you could just roll that stuff right back to your own farm. And we had a presentation given to us a couple of weeks ago on the health committee, and they said, we talk a lot about tires, and tires are certainly important, but floor mats in trucks, the stuff you have on your boots, those things really matter. And many times, when they traced back to how avian influenza got into a facility, it was tracked in on footwear. And so it's really important to, keep the inside of the truck clean after a delivery, as well as, you got boots that you go out in, you got boots that you wear inside your facility.
Awesome. Okay, so I was doing a little research when we talked about doing this program, and I came up with an article that we did back in January, February 2017 when it was first reported, and then it reappeared in the spring of 2017. And then in 2018, Carol Cardona did an article on the Secure Upland Game Bird Supply Plan.
Right.
What is that?
Okay, so we're a much smaller industry than the broiler chickens or the layer chickens or the turkey industries, and so we've been somewhat behind them. But in response to this type of thing, the poultry industry in general has created plans to assure, let's say, state veterinarians across the country that we're practicing good disease prevention and hygiene protocols, so that when there is an outbreak, that there is an ability to still move birds, wherever they need to go. In our case, of course, we want to move birds from our game bird farms to our hunting preserve and hunting club customers. And so, why would a state veterinarian from a neighboring state allow you to bring birds into their state if your state has an avian influenza outbreak?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've got the outbreak, you're not moving anything. But if you're in the state or you're within, 10 miles of an outbreak, can there be a system put in place that would allow you to still move your birds? And the Secure Upland Game Bird Supply Plan is that's the procedures that we've established to assure state veterinarians that the industry takes these things serious. And we instruct our people on the best ways to be prepared, to have the proper paperwork, and then also to know how to respond, when the worst happens. And the plan is like 99% finished, but we actually got to see some of the things put into place here over the last few weeks when one of our members, had to face questions from USDA APHIS on whether or not they had avian flu and how they would go about testing it and what are their protocols. So it's really a system to allow you to keep moving birds even in times like these when avian influenza is obviously a risk.
Okay, so I've heard that abbreviated with the term SUGS. So
Right.
when we're talking about SUGS, we're talking about the Secure Upland Game Bird Program.
Yeah, the secure SUGS, Secure Upland Game Bird Supply Plan. That's what it stands for. And so the example I was talking about, the authorities rolled in that there had been a finding of avian influenza on a hunting preserve, and they were able to track all of the hunting preserve suppliers. And so, the government then wanted to come back to each supplier and figure out if they were, the place where it originated from.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went into one of our, NAGA members and, asked to be shown the paperwork, asked to be shown the protocols. And, our NAGA member was really on top of it. And I think they were shut down for 3 days, which obviously it's never good to be shut down.
Yeah, but it's not 6 months.
Oh gosh, 3 days is, a relatively minor inconvenience compared to what could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just showed us exactly what we've been working toward all this time, which is, if you follow these procedures, they put you in the best circumstance to be able to, survive. In this particular case, they found that the supplier did not have avian influenza in their place. It came from someplace else. But the fact that he was all prepared and ready to go is the reason why he was back in business in 72 hours.
Wonderful. Now, I know we ended up going to Washington, D.C. in 2018 over something called indemnification. Do you want to address that?
Right. So the first thing I would say is, the government has a program to pay people some level of compensation in the event that their facility tests positive for avian influenza. But that is contingent on having an acceptable biosecurity plan. So the very first thing we have to say is If you don't have a biosecurity plan in place, you're just not eligible for the kind of compensation that you could get. But for those that have a plan, if there's a finding of avian influenza on your property, the government's going to come in and they're going to depopulate your birds, and then you'll be eligible to be paid a certain percentage of what you have in those birds.
And it's never going to be 100%. You're never going to make money by having this disaster come on, but at least you get to survive.
Well,
right?
that's certainly the hope. I think one of the things that NAGA is going to have to revisit is what are those values today? Because we actually helped the government arrive at the indemnification values back in 2015 and 16, but that's 7 years ago, 6 years ago. So are the values adequate? I think that's something we need to take a close look at. But the intent, as you say, is to allow you to survive, even if, you're walking with a limp, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Well, I want to point out to our members that there are all sorts of articles in the North American Game Bird Association's publication, the NAGA News. And every one of these is archived behind the password protected content wall of our website. So if you're looking for this information, by all means, go to the website, sign in, and even in this last issue of the North American Game Bird Association publication, there is an article, once again, about avian influenza. We do what we can to get that information out to our members. If you're not a member, you're missing out. You should join the NAGA. Okay, so switching tracks.
Yes.
Let's talk about another adventure that we're getting into, which is the North American Game Bird Association Hunting Club Conference. We are going to be having this conference in Ohio at the Deer Creek State Park. It's a gorgeous venue, and we are lining up some really awesome speakers. You want to take that away, Rob, and talk about that?
You bet. So the first ever NAGA Hunting Club Conference will take place July 18th through the 20th at Deer Creek State Park. For those who need a little bit of Ohio geography, Deer Creek is basically in between Columbus and Cincinnati, right off of Interstate 71. So for those who need air travel, you could fly into either airport and still be fairly convenient. Columbus is probably a little bit closer. We are assembling an awesome agenda with speakers that are just experts in their field in so many interesting topics. And the topics have come from hunting preserve owners. We put a committee together of folks who own these hunting clubs, and we asked, what is the information that you all would like to see? And then we're going out and chasing down speakers who can deliver that content. So we've got all of our topics lined out. I think we've got probably about a third of our speakers lined up. But we'll have a jam-packed agenda that covers just really about everything you'd ever want to know on how to run a hunting preserve well. And it'll be presented in a way that gives you a chance to get to know some people and have some fun.
I know one of those topics is marketing. Everybody wonders, okay, how do I go about getting customers? How do I market this well? How do I market it on the internet? How do I handle all the bookwork kind of interaction with customers?
Yep.
And there are those soft skills that we need to develop, like dealing with your customers. So we have a master instructor from Dale Carnegie. The courses are expensive if you go to them, but they're coming. They're presenting not one, but two seminars at this conference that we're having. What of all the list of ones that we have, Rob, kind of makes you excited?
Well, I think on the marketing front, we're also going to have someone come in to teach people how to take best advantage of the different digital tools that are out there now and social media tools, right? And I know that folks with a lot of gray hair like me, they're going to say, "Oh, yes, we're going to talk about social media." The fact is, every year goes by, a higher percentage of people are using that rather than the telephone, and so
right. Look at this. We're online live stream. Who would have thought?
Exactly, right? So you can't sit around till one day you look at yourself like Kodak, and you just don't exist anymore. So you have to join, what is the trend today. So I'm excited about that. Um, we're going to have people come in and talk about maintaining high quality cover. One of the things in our business is the demand for hunting clubs is higher than it's ever been.
Right,
Most hunting preserves you talk to, they have so much business they don't know what to do with it, and
right.
that's caused the seasons to be longer. They're
Mhm.
starting earlier, they're hunting later in the season. Well, that's challenging then on your cover, right? To have good quality cover. So we're going
Right.
to have
Go
someone
all
come in.
year long. That's
Yep.
right.
Holding pens. We're going to have somebody come in and talk about short-term holding pens, right? Because you get some high quality birds delivered to you. If you don't have good facilities on holding them, your birds look all beat up, don't fly well by the time that it's time to go out in the field. Well, that's a problem too. So we'll talk about that. A lot of hunting clubs have restaurant facilities. And so we're actually bringing in a master chef, one,
Oh,
one of only
wow.
66 such people in the entire United
Wow.
States. And he's going to talk about, cooking game, tasty, easy, the whole 9 yards. So
Nice.
that's just a sample. I think the value of the conference is going to be the agenda, followed by the chance to be in the same room with the whole lot of your compatriots who have the same challenges you do, experiencing the same issues you face, and just be able to develop those relationships. I know that's always been the strength of the annual convention, which is mostly producers. But this event is not going to be about producers. It's going to be about hunting clubs, and there'll be lots of chance for dialogue that's not scripted, and lots of chances for fun also.
As someone who is on both sides of the industry, I know when we go to the annual convention, which was out in Las Vegas this year, most of the time that we really got benefit out of it, yes, the seminars were great, but it was sitting in the hallways, talking to people, or sitting at the meals, talking to somebody, and some idea would come out. We go, hey, that's a good thing. So, and building those relationships. We've spent the last 2 years in isolation, basically. Much. We've been talking about human biosecurity over the last
Right,
2 years and being isolated, being with other people who do the same thing just has really made it, um, where you can pick somebody's brain, just feel like you're part of a community,
that's right.
which is what we are, this game bird community, hence Game Bird Spotlight. So we are really thrilled to be hosting this. It is in a wonderful venue. My husband and our children and I used to go to Deer Creek every year in October for another unrelated event. And it was a great place to go for not only this educational possibility, this educational event, but you can extend it and have great vacations. We're really close to everything from horseback riding to a major theme park, any kind of museum or activity you would want to include in Cleveland or Columbus, or just get out and relax, which is
Right.
really hard for us to
Well,
do.
I think it's important, obviously, to have some downtime. Um, I do want to make sure everybody understands this. You say it's going to be at a state park. I think folks get in their mind this rustic thing,
Right.
like, oh Lord, you're going to stick
Yep.
me in some
Yep.
rustic thing. Do I have running water? So Deer Creek State Park Lodge is a newly renovated hotel. It's very nice.
Right.
Uh, for those who want to bring a family, they have cabins that are 2-bedroom cabins with full service kitchens. They're brand new. And for those who have RVs, you can bring your camper or your RV down. There's campsites available that are fully functional in terms of facility. So
Right.
even though we're going to be in a state park, we're not sacrificing in terms of the posh comforts that you would expect from a
You can
conference.
pick whatever level of lodging you want
Yep.
and just enjoy the outdoors. Of course, it has a lake, so there's boating, fishing, swimming, you're near any kind of activity that you would want. It's just a really, really beautiful venue, and it's going to be an awesome event.
So let's get down to this. So how does a person sign up for this thing? They can register on our website, NorthAmericanGameBird.com. They will see a pull down menu for the conference that gives you everything you need to know. So your ability to register, it talks about lodging, opportunities for exhibitors and sponsors. And so the website, NorthAmericanGameBird.com, has everything you need to make sure that you're there July 18th through the 20th for this conference. You can register right there. Also, one thing that folks need to know is that your registration includes your meals. And so,
Great.
I think that's not every conference does that. I know we don't do that with every event we have at our annual convention, but the hunting club conference, the meals will be provided. And so I think cost wise, you can get a lot of bang for your buck if you come to this.
Yes, yeah, it's going to be a great time. Before we go, I mean, we've talked about everything that we had on our minds, but I do want to give credit for the background photos. This fine pheasant up here and others that I will use were taken by a fellow named Chip Gross. Chip used to write for the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, and he has authored several books, one of which is Poachers Were My Prey, that was told to him by R.T. Stewart, and the book Home at Last is the Hunter. He has come to our place and done beautiful photography, so he gave us the rights to use it, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, really nice.
Thank you, Rob, for being on. I appreciate you being here, and we're available through, you're at editor at North American, you're at Rob at NorthAmericanGameBird.com.
Right.
I am out there. You could send it to Rob. I'll get any questions that you might have. And until then, next time we get together, we're, put questions or comments in the area down below, and let us know what you think or programs that you would like to see happen. Thank you, Rob.
Oh, thank you, Peg. I'm glad to be with you.